I'm in Western Sydney, in Australia's largest urban park. It's over 5,000 hectares of parkland, recreational facilities, tourist attractions and bushland. It runs 27 kilometres through Western Sydney. Now, if you're wondering what 5,000 hectares looks like, think of the MCG. Now multiply that by 202. With over 2 million visitors to the park every year, this is a great resource for locals and tourists alike. But it hasn't always looked like this. In the 1950s, this area was heavily cleared of trees and woodland. I'm here to meet Dave Kirkland, Environmental Manager, who's going to show me around this epic site.
I'm Environmental Manager. I've been here for 13 years and it's been great fun watching the place grow, develop and improve.
And managing a park this large, I'm guessing there's a lot to do.
That's right. So we build and develop the park in stages, trying to make it a park for people. So we're bringing people into the site, and that's what this pathway is here. We want everyone to be able to come through, whether walking, cycling, wheelchair, all accessible sort of access through the estate, so that everyone gets a feel for nature.
Exactly as it should be. I already love the sound of what Dave and the team are doing here. I can't wait to see what they've got growing. This is a fairly impressive looking planting that's going on here. What's behind this?
Well, what happened here, being old cattle country grazing land, it had a bit of pasture improvement and fertiliser use on it. So what we did is we actually stripped back the topsoil, tested the soil, saw the depth of that nutrient overload, stripped it all back because the natives prefer the lower nutrient, and then seeded in native grasses and wildflowers. So we've got about 40 different species of wildflowers and grasses in here.
What kind of ecology are you trying to bring back here?
So we're looking to re-establish the ecology of the Cumberland Plains. So Cumberland Plain woodland, river flat eucalypt forest, depending on what part of the topography or the landscape we're in.
Bringing back that Cumberland Plain woodland, a lot of it was lost, so look, this is a pretty important project.
Yeah, essentially there's only sort of 6% left across the Sydney Basin. We've got about 1,400 hectares here and our target's to get to 2,000 hectares.
And then a lot of plants.
That's a lot of plants, yeah, that's a lot of plants. The other year alone I planted up well over 60,000 trees.
Wow. The rate of transformation in this area of Western Sydney means that by 2036, more than half of Sydney's population will live west of Parramatta, which makes what this parkland provides more important than ever. Beyond recreational activities, it's also the green lungs of the area, helping to cool the west in the heat of the summer months and reduce heat island effect.
So this is our little patch of Western Sydney dry rainforest, protected in this gully from the hot northwest sun and the hot northwest winds. But we're trying to actually not just expand this little patch of remnant stuff here, but we're actually trying to reconstruct it in other gullies that we've got along the way, because what it's doing is it's providing a nice little microclimate for us and actually an opportunity then for people to have a bit of refuge from climate change and increasing temperatures.
There's a lot happening in Western Sydney, but having green spaces like this, it can only be good for what's coming.
Coming in Western Sydney is huge, with the new airport and the new city out there and all the development and the housing. So we're hopeful that if we can actually expand this and use this as little patches, it'll actually adjust and be able to survive climate change as it's happening now.
Green spaces like this are really important to offsetting that heat island effect and doing what we can. If the climate's getting warmer, doing all we can to make it cooler.
That's right. So if you've got a bit of backyard at home, get some plants in, get some trees in, get some water into them and get them growing. Get your canopy around your house.
Bush regeneration is going really well here. However, it's always a slow and tricky process, with many things to contend with. One of the biggest challenges Dave and his team have faced while trying to regenerate local bushland is invasive species.
This one here, African olive, a real problem, transformer species. It'll produce 20,000 seeds per plant per year and perfect size for bird droppings. It's what we're dealing with, just totally dense through the landscape and pretty much changing from what it should be to just a monoculture.
I've not seen it this high or this dense.
Yeah, it's real problematic for us, and even when we knock it down, 20,000 seeds that it'll drop everywhere.
But there has been more success in another area.
10, 12 years ago, this site was completely full of African olive, privet, lantana. This is pretty much where we started the major works. Mechanical removing a lot of stuff and turning it back to this so that you can actually see through the bushland now, which is absolutely fantastic.
And this is that real woodland feel. It's like it's such a big difference. It must be an amazing sense of gratitude for everybody.
Look, this is my happy place. We've done a lot of work here. This is we've got to burn through this place, which has actually really helped transform it to the next step. And what we'd like to do is actually bring in Aboriginal people and with RFS and ourselves and actually start to bring a knowledge of cultural burning with RFS burning with our own land management to actually bring back an understanding of burning in the Sydney Basin and how we can achieve that.
Compared to what we've seen, that massive infestation of olive, this is unbelievable. The work that's going on here, you've really got to be commended. Yeah,
it's absolutely beautiful landscape, and this is what you should see of the Australian bush, being able to actually look through it, see past everything and see into the landscape and the rolling hills. It's a fantastic feeling for me.
Western Sydney Parklands have successfully restored around 1,500 hectares of bushland. It's an impressive feat, and the benefits are clear. As it continues to look to the future of one of its current key objectives is biobanking for conservation. They have a 20-hectare area of Western Sydney Parklands set aside to focus on diversity and habitat.
This area is set aside for conservation. It's a place just for wildlife, and we specifically really try to increase the diversity. Plant different species that aren't here. Native raspberry popping up everywhere, which is fantastic. And we're seeing other animals turn up, the squirrel gliders, echidnas, things like that.
The other striking thing about here is like there's a freeway just behind us, but you just feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. It's fantastic.
It's great, and we're working with people who run that to try to create corridors underneath culverts and stuff like that so that we get connection to the other parts of the park so the wildlife movement can come through.
And that's the nice thing about it, having the long-term vision, but the short-term goals as you just keep stepping through.
And it's great being in these conservation sites because these are on title in perpetuity, so it doesn't matter what happens in the future. Certificate of Title talks about a biodiversity stewardship site on this site, and it can't change.
I've got to say, knowing what's going on around here and being in this space, it really makes me feel good about what the future might hold for areas like this. There was one last spot Dave was keen to show me. This is a pretty specky spot here in the park.
Yeah, this we term it the beauty spot for obvious reasons. The view is spectacular. It's pretty close to the highest point in the central part.
And you can really see the scope of what 5,000 hectares looks like here. It's amazing, this beautiful green spine that runs through Western Sydney. Yeah,
you get up here and you look north, south, east, west, and you get to see pretty much the whole of the city, and you get to see the canopy through the city. So it really highlights the importance of those green corridors. So the great thing about this area is that with all this development going on, we've got this huge expanse here protected for the people. Their backyards will be this area.
Dave, thanks so much for taking me around. It's been an absolute joy, and just to see what's happening and what's yet to come, unbelievable. Thanks.
That's okay, Clarence. Happy to have you back in another 10 years and we'll do it all again.
Fantastic.